A man who's lived on and off in the Binghamton area is accused of intentionally infecting multiple women with HIV. Our Brandy Bailey joins us with more on a case that is a stark warning against risky behaviors.
Candace, 40-year-old Cartrell Brooks has been arrested 53 times. He's known as a career criminal. Currently in the DeSoto Parish Correctional Facility in Louisiana, Brooks is being held on charges related to drug possession, aggravated incest, and intentionally exposing women to HIV. The DeSoto Parish Sheriff's Office says through its investigation, calls have come from women in the Binghamton area concerned for their health after having unprotected sex with Brooks and having no knowledge that he's HIV positive. While their names cannot be released, the Sheriff's Office says at least 2 have been infected with HIV. The Southern Tier AIDS program says Brooks is not the norm, but a case that is a steady reminder.
Communication is crucial. Know who your partners are. Go ahead and ask these questions.
Locally, Brooks has spent time in the Broome County Jail on charges of attempted sale of a controlled substance in 2009 and violated a parole hearing in July of 2013. Brooks was shot in the buttocks at the Rockbee Tavern back in 2006, where he did not cooperate with law enforcement on that investigation. Brooks is said to have 27 children and have done jail time in at least 5 different states. The DeSoto Sheriff's Office is continuing its investigation and taking calls from victims.
Thanks for keeping it local with NBC6 News. I'm Jackie Jovic.
And I'm Nick LaFave. In our top story this evening, more details in the case of a Logansport man accused of intentionally spreading HIV to at least a dozen people. Investigators say 40-year-old Cartrell Brooks could have victims as far away as Georgia and New York. NBC6's Kimberly Risley has been following the story. She joins us now live from the Content Center with more. Kimberly, what else can you tell us?
Well, Nick, on Friday, detectives slapped Cartrell Brooks with another charge of intentionally spreading HIV. So in all, he's facing 2 of those charges, 1 count of incest and 2 drug charges. And considering that he's traveled and lived in a total of 5 states, detectives say they can't even get a count on the victims right now. 40-year-old Cartrell Brooks is accused of intentionally spreading HIV to possibly 13 people in the small town of Logansport, Louisiana. Authorities with DeSoto Parish Sheriff's Office say ever since word of Brooks' arrest on January 7th got out, their phones have been ringing constantly. Calls have come in from Georgia and even New York, all from people who were concerned about being exposed to HIV through Brooks.
He's been arrested in 5 different states and has resided in 5 different states, and it's our understanding that he has numerous children in various states, so there could be victims in all 5 states.
Detective Horace Womack says when Brooks was asked to give a list of potential victims, he said no. Plus, he denied even having sex with anyone in Logansport. Neighbors in the small town say they don't want to talk about the case on camera, but their thoughts and prayers go out to any victims involved. A prayer vigil was held Sunday night at St. Luke Baptist Church to support victims and urge others to come forward.
Don't be afraid to open your mouth and say when something happens to you. And parents, listen to your kids. Don't brush it off.
Authorities are asking the same.
It's not required that anyone test positive for exposure to the virus. Just the fact that he exposed them to the virus without their knowledge is a crime, and that's what he's basically being charged with.
You also have to remember that Brooks is a wanted fugitive out of New York, but the DeSoto Parish DA's office says if they can get the maximum time for his charges here in Louisiana, he won't get to go back upstate in New York and serve time for those charges. So, Nick, the story is far from over, and we'll stay on top of any developments.
Gets worse. A Logansport man behind bars accused of inappropriate relations with a juvenile relative.
40-year-old Cartrell Brooks is in jail charged with aggravated incest. And if that's not bad enough, during the investigation, Brooks told DeSoto Sheriff's detectives he has AIDS. Tests came back positive, and Brooks was charged with intentional exposure of the AIDS virus. New at 6, KTBS 3's Amy Vitrano learns more about Brooks and the community's reaction to that charge. Amy, this isn't even Brooks' first offense, is it?
No, unfortunately not, Jessica. Just being in Louisiana, Cartrell Brooks violated his New York State parole after a drug charge. He's been arrested more than 50 times since 1990 in several different states, including Tennessee, Georgia, and Ohio.
It runs from violent offenses to weapons, simple escape, drugs. He even had a rape and a kidnapping charge at one point.
DeSoto Sheriff Chief Deputy Horace Womack says Brooks is not the first person to be charged with intentional exposure of AIDS in the parish, but it's not that common. While dealing with the issue, the sheriff's office tries to balance sensitivity towards the victim and privacy of the suspect.
At this point, he's under arrest, and I mean, it's common knowledge of what he's charged with. But it is an issue we have to address very cautiously.
Logansport is a small town. Only about 2,500 people live here. So the news that Brooks had AIDS spread quickly, and so did the concern for those affected here in this community.
When things like this hit close to home, it's very devastating.
Lakia Henderson and others in the community want to do something. They say they've heard Brooks had more than 10 sexual partners in the area and think the situation needs to go to God.
Really and truly, we just need prayer. As one, it's time out to quit talking and gossiping about the situation, because the talking and gossiping is not helping the situation. Only God can help this situation. That's why we're trying to get this community-wide prayer vigil together.
Now, the prayer vigil is planned for this coming Sunday, the 19th. It'll start at 5 o'clock at St. Luke Baptist Church in Logansport. Now, Jessica, the church is not involved in the planning event, just where it will be held.
All right, Amy, thank you. A hurtful situation all the way around. Thanks for sharing those details with us. The DeSoto Parish Sheriff's Office would also like to hold Brooks accountable if he did intentionally expose the AIDS virus to someone else. If you believe that you could be a victim or someone you know, please contact the Sheriff's
Logansport man
Office.
is charged with an unthinkable crime. 40-year-old Cartrell Brooks is accused of intentionally spreading AIDS HIV to possibly 13 people. NBC6's Kimberly Roosley joining us now live from Studio Control with details. Kim, is this man locked up?
Well, yes, Nick. Brooks is at the DeSoto Parish Detention Center being held on a $500,000 bond. Authorities say he raped a female relative of his, and he also had sex with several people without telling them that he was HIV positive. It's a shocking story, but true. Authorities in DeSoto Parish say this man, 40-year-old Cartrell Brooks, intentionally spread HIV to possibly 13 people. On January 7th, a relative of Brooks called detectives saying Brooks raped another relative who was a child. At that time, Brooks was charged with aggravated incest. But detectives say Brooks later admitted he was HIV positive and he did not let any of his recent sexual partners know.
Of course, our office concern is how many victims there may be, and the criminal aspect of it, because if he did not make them aware, that is another criminal charge.
Detective Horace Womack says his office is still taking calls and there could be more victims. He refers to Brooks as a career criminal. Brooks has been arrested 52 times since 1990. He faces charges in 5 different states, and they include things like armed robbery, drug offenses, kidnapping, and rape. The DeSoto Parish District Attorney's Office says they're going after Brooks full force.
Any case that involves a minor victim, we are very serious about pursuing and seeking the maximum penalty. Aggravated incest carries anywhere from 25 to 99 years as a penalty.
Once HIV testing results come back on the other potential victims, Brooks could be looking at more charges. Detectives are urging others in the Logansport area to come forward if you believe that you're a victim of Brooks. The Sheriff's Office will do the testing and open a criminal case from there. Nick?
Just awful. Thank you so much, Kim.
Good evening, and thanks for keeping it local with NBC6 News. I'm Jackie Jovic.
And I'm Nick LaFave. In an NBC6 News exclusive, there is a new charge against a Logansport man accused of intentionally spreading HIV to at least 13 people. NBC6's Kimberly Roosley was in the DeSoto Parish Courthouse today when Cartrell Brooks was arraigned.
Hey guys, good evening to you. Just today, 40-year-old Cartrell Brooks was arraigned on a new drug charge for allegedly having Oxycontin during his arrest earlier this year. Now, here's video that you'll see only on NBC6 of Brooks walking from the DeSoto Parish Detention Center to the courthouse. Now, this new drug charge is in addition to 3 counts of intentional exposure to AIDS virus, aggravated incest, and 2 other drug charges. As you may remember, Brooks was initially arrested on January 7th in Logansport after authorities say he raped a relative. Detectives say during an interview he admitted to having sex with multiple partners, knowing he was HIV positive. Cartrell, did you intentionally spread AIDS to someone? DeSoto Parish Assistant DA Ron Stamp says he's still waiting on more evidence before heading to trial in August.
Obviously, the medical information would be very important because the medical information is obviously going to prove that element of the case as it relates to the victims having not only being exposed, but having actual full-blown AIDS at this point.
And of course, as this case against Cartrell Brooks continues, we'll continue to bring you the latest on air and online at arklatex homepage.com. Back to you.